And a TGIF to all, especially those of you in Kentucky with the new basketball coach and a big day at Keeneland today. Welcome Mark Pope to the show, because if you're coaching at Kentucky, you're following Keeneland. So we know he's watching us today, Jeff. Welcome into the show. He's Jeff Siegel. I'm Jeremy Plonk. This is the First Call podcast, and we're going to handicap some stakes races for you this weekend. Jeff, any intersection of college sports and horse racing is going to get our attention.
Never forget, I was talking with Pat Riley once in the press box at Del Mar. I didn't even know he was a horse racing fan. And I asked him if he ever owned horses. He said, yeah, I owned some broodmares when I was at University of Kentucky. I said, really? I said, yeah, yes, yeah. He says, I said, yeah, how did you pick them out? How'd you pay for them? He says, I didn't pay for them. They just gave them to me. So you got it. There's a crossover there. You know, if you're not a horse racing fan in basketball, first of all, that's the biggest crossover I've ever experienced. There's nobody that I know that in horse racing doesn't love college basketball, and vice versa. So anyway, but yeah, I think he'll do well there. Hopefully we'll do well at Keeneland today and the weekend. I know you've been killing it, Jeremy. I think I'll just follow your coattails here. But some good racing today for sure. I have to ask you before we start, though. We're going to do the Maker's Mark Mile, today's feature first. What kind of grass course are we dealing with? Does that course take water pretty well? And what are we dealing with?
Well, it does, but there's an exceptional amount of rain over an extended period of time, so it's going to be quite soft. And they took race 5 off the turf for the Friday card, races 7 and 9, the Limestone Stakes, and also the Maker's Mark Mile, scheduled to be run on the turf, but it will be soft. It is sand-based, so it drains well, but there's going to be quite a bit of give to it, no question about it, I think, for this weekend's racing. So, you know, if you have a soft turf specialist, a horse bred for it, a horse with some experience over it, I think you want to move them up a little bit. We'll see how the times play out, but again, you won't get much of a judge because it's going to be a 5.5 furlong turf sprint in the 7th. So by the time we get to the Maker's Mark Mile, we're not going to really know what we're dealing with in terms of the turf course, you know, how deep it is. But I imagine that there's going to be quite a bit of give to it. Also forecast for some afternoon rain. So what's drying out of the racetrack to start the program at Keeneland on Friday may turn out to be a different condition as we get later into the days. More rain is forecast for this afternoon. It is supposed to clear out, though, in Kentucky for Saturday. So hopefully we'll have a great day of racing for a fantastic stake schedule on Saturday as well. But what a great day. I mean, we're talking about a Breeders' Cup winner in, running in the Maker's Mark Mile. We're talking about a Royal Ascot winner running in the undercard stakes in the Limestone. So it's a great day to be a horse racing fan here on this Friday. And we're going to set you up with our schedule of stakes that Jeff and I are going to handicap over the next half hour or so. For the benefit of those of you listening into our audio channels, we'll run through the whole schedule. If you're watching on YouTube or on Twitter, X, be sure to like, share this out, get it out to your friends, help build our audience for the First Call podcast. We do this each and every Friday throughout the course of the year. 8 stakes races for this weekend that we're going to handicap for April 12th and 13th. We'll start today with that aforementioned Maker's Mark Mile at Keeneland. Then we'll talk about Saturday's big 3, the Giants Causeway, the Jenny Wiley, and the Lexington. Maybe backdoor entry into the Kentucky Derby involved there. At Laurel Park, they've got a series of stakes races, 100 granders. We'll take a look at 2 of them, the Frank Whiteley and the Native Dancer. And to Oaklawn we go for the Count Fleet and the Apple Blossom. Years ago, we'd call this the Racing Festival of the South. Now, at Oaklawn, they've got a season-long festival with their stakes races stretched out. We're post-Arkansas Derby, still a couple weeks left in the meet in Hot Springs, and 2 big ones on the calendar for Saturday, including that Apple Blossom, one of the top filly and mare races in the entire year's calendar. Tournament players, it's about the Grade 1 gamble this weekend at Keeneland, $3,500 handicapping tournament playing on track. But if you can't get to Keeneland, online ExpressBet is your place to play the Grade 1 gamble. Be sure to try to get into that tournament for just $100 today. There's a feeder tournament for the Grade 1 gamble going on for the Friday card at Keeneland. Be sure to sign up in the tournaments page at expressbet.com. No tournament play at First Bet, so go to ExpressBet to play your tournaments. Also, some lower price feeders Saturday and Sunday this weekend, Hawthorne and a $40 feeder at Keeneland on Sunday. And Jeff, we got a deal for you. Money back special on 11 stakes races from Keeneland, Laurel, and Oaklawn. We're going to handicap 8 of them on our show, but there are 11 overall from those 3 tracks on Saturday and Friday. $10 money back special means on your win bets up to $10 if they finish second or third, you'll get your money back in the form of wagering credits after the fact. So be sure to take advantage of that money back special. Make some straight win bets this weekend on those stakes races. Be sure to opt into the promos in order to get that. So go to the promo section on the app at First Bet or on the website at Express Bet. Either platform, you can take advantage of that $10 money back special. Jeff, we're not going to need the money back special, though. I'm feeling that good, and I know you're going to deliver some winners. So between the two of us, no need for the insurance.
I feel good this week, especially. I mean, we don't have no racing at Santa Anita this week, so I had plenty of time and had all my energies directed at the weekend stakes, more so than usual. And so I'm prepared. I just hope that the racing gods are kind. But let's dive in because we got some really good racing this week.
All right, let's go to Friday's main event at Keeneland. It's race number 9 on the card. It's the Maker's Mark Mile, $600,000. We do have a scratch or two here to announce. The 1 Equitize is out, as is the 7 Du Jour. So 1 and 7 are out. Field of 6, but there is no fluff left in this lineup, Jeff. Outstanding runners in here. Master of the Seas, the winner of last year's Breeders' Cup Mile, comes back to Keeneland. He got beat a nose by Up to the Mark during the fall meet at Keeneland in a tremendous edition of the Keeneland Turf Mile. We'll see if he can get the nose down in time like he did at the Breeders' Cup. Let's go back to the call from Santa Anita last fall, where he became a Breeders' Cup champion, Master of the Seas.
And on the inside, Maj looking to come off the rail now and make a run. And here she comes as she swings up on the outside. Then astronomer Cheryl Spite is coming on. Casa Creed rolling down the center of the course. Master of the Seas trying to get into it late. Maj in front. Casa Creed on the outside. Master of the Seas closing with a rush. Here's the wire. Oh, the Godolphins were noses apart. Maj and Master of the Seas inseparable at the finish in the Breeders' Cup Mile.
I'm never gonna get over that one, Jeff. I needed Maj. Yeah. You make me show that video every once in a while, and it just drives a stake in me, pal.
I know, tough beat, tough beat. But that really showed you how good Master of the Seas was to accelerate. He was 12th down the backstretch, and then 12th to 13, and really accelerated the last part to get up in time, career top buyer number. Now he comes back off the layoff for Charles Appleby, who has another very, very good horse in this race in Naval Power. Now, obviously, you look at this field, and William Buick could have ridden either one because he has ridden both and stays with the Breeders' Cup winner, and understandably so. I'm not sure if there's that much of a difference between Master of the Seas at 4-5 and Naval Power, who is listed at 10-1. Naval Power himself was won 6 out of 7. The only race he got beat was as a 2-year-old in the Dewhurst when he bled. He's come back. He's had his issues, obviously. But let me ask you this, Jeremy. I mean, what do you make of Naval Power's inclusion in this field? If you've got Master of the Seas ready to roll, I don't think you'd run Naval Power in there unless you thought he was ready to roll too. Maybe I'm reading this wrong, but Naval Power has got rapidly improving time form ratings. Visually, he was very impressive in Dubai. Even if he finishes second, he's still going to pick up a pretty good purse for gelding. Yeah. And so I'm going to hammer this Godolphin exacta here. I don't know if one is that much better than the other, but I think Naval Power is better than the rest. One other thing I wanted to point out here is that listed in the DRF as a first-time gelding. That is not true. He did run as a gelding in Dubai, and he may have been a gelding even before that. I don't know, but he's not a first-time gelding. But he's a very, very good horse, and he's won over very soft ground, as he did 2 races back last year when he just turned 3. So I think those are the two of the race. Naval Power's got a beautiful way of going. Master of the Seas has got a powerful late kick. Yeah. I think the outclassed this field. And Charles Appleby loves to run multiple horses in the same race. So this is not unusual for him. When Naval Power won 2 races back, he ran 1, 2, 3 in that race. So don't worry about that. I think it's an exceptional edition of the Maker's Mark Mile. And I think it's Godolphin 1-2 or 2-1.
Yeah, the old statement is why run two when one will do, right? And if you think Master of the Seas is a deadpan lock, you wouldn't bring Naval Power over. So I agree with you in the fact that you might be looking at a potential box here. I think Master of the Seas is the better of the two horses, but from a value standpoint and where you look at, what the payoffs could be, turning the exact around, 3-4 is going to be quite a bit more attractive, obviously, than 4-3. So from a gambling standpoint, can't disagree with you. Charlie Appleby, when he brings horses to Keeneland, he's done pretty well. He's 8 for 16 or 9 for 16 in the exacta. 3 of those were Breeders' Cup wins back in 2022. He won the Juvenile Turf Sprint, the Mile, and the Turf that year. He does pretty good when he brings them to the U.S. Keeneland, no exception there. The other one to watch in here, I think, is Kubrick, the 5. This is a horse who's got some French racing form and Irish pedigree. Should like the softer going for Chad Brown. Did win the return race for off 10 months and won at Tampa Bay Downs in a lesser allowance race, but that's a good prep to set up for this one. By Dubawi, I think this horse should like the softer going. So the 5 Kubrick would be the other one, but it's those horses. I don't see anybody else. I like Integration as a racehorse, but on the softer turf against these top international horses at a mile, that's for sure Integration is a miler. So I think it's 3, 4, and 5 is the way we circle through here in the Maker's Mark Mile. Also want to mention that Crimson Advocate is the Royal Ascot winner who's running on the undercard, won the Queen Mary last year. Crimson Advocate goes in the Limestone Stakes race number 7. As of right now, as we record our podcast, we are just before noon Eastern. We'll stream this out within the hour. We are supposed to be on the turf for races 7 and 9 today, the 2 stakes races at Keeneland. Let's go to our schedule now as we turn from Friday to Saturday. We stay at Keeneland. We got a trio of stakes races on the Saturday card. We'll start in race number 7 with the Giants Causeway. Giants Causeway, as I was informed, never ran 5.5, never ran at Keeneland. And to be a turf sprint for fillies and mares is a curious name of the Giants Causeway Stakes, but we know him here in the U.S. for his great run in the Breeders' Cup Classic and running second, a great European turf horse, of course, ran off a tremendous run of grade 1s. I'm assuming this is for more breeding aspirations of Giants Causeway, having a stakes race at Keeneland named after him, but turf sprinters go in here, Jeff, and Wesley Ward, we talk about him dominating the 2-year-old races in the spring at Keeneland. That's obvious, but his domination in the turf sprints is almost as strong as it is with those 2-year-old dashers on the dirt. He's just phenomenal in these races. He's got reins in here all the way on the outside in post number 12. Ward's won this race the last 2 years. Fillies who had not run since the previous year, coming off long layoffs. It's kind of third verse, same as the first. It's Ward, it's Rosario, who has a tremendous record in stakes races at Keeneland and turf sprints. I like Love Reigns in this particular spot. I'm hoping that the public hates the 12-hole enough that it bumps up the price a little bit, but I think she's the one to beat in here. This is a good bunch, though, because you've got one in here that I know can run. Her name is Roses for Deborah.
Yeah, I went with her, even though I'm not totally sure where she's at, but she has run well on soft ground. She's also run lousy on soft ground. So, but I think the last 2 races that she had were below form, so they gave her some time off. She hasn't been out since the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint back in November, and she looks like she's eager here, Jeremy. That's what I'm looking for. It looks like she still wants to do it at age 5, breezing on dirt. She's not a dirt filly, but getting over the ground really well in this, just an easy breeze. But since this work, this was back in early March, she's turned in a couple of really nice bullet works. So I think she's cranked up and ready to go. She has a history of running well fresh, and she certainly looks like a mare who will draft in maybe in the second flight and then kick home if she handles the ground. She's 4-1, regular rider. I Rider Tiz Jr. Is aboard. She's one of several I could see win. The filly you like from Wesley's barn's got an outside draw, but I don't think that's going to hurt her because I think she'll just drop over, sit, and make a run. And if she gets some luck and handles the ground, she could be tough as well. So a very, very contentious race. Nothing really would surprise me. But looking at Roses for Deborah, and she's won 7 out of 11. Got a right, she can handle any kind of pace flow. I'm just hopeful that she comes back with her best form. Not necessarily with the form that saw her lose her last 2, although, again, against the boys in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint at Santa Anita in her most recent start, that was a stiff task. But I think she's going to hopefully come back to her best.
If you're looking for a price in this race, probably not on top the way you want to go. Favorites have done really well in this turf sprint and have done well in turf sprints at Keeneland over the years in Stakes Company. So I think Love Reigns, Roses for Deborah, the two horses that are going to get bet and the two that are most likely to win. If you're looking for a price underneath for an exacta or a try, though, watch the 10 in here, Breeze Easy. This one's got the British pedigree, should like it soft, has one race over the Yielding, got beat a nose in that. And look, the form's muddied. 2 starts back, it was an off-the-turf race. And last time ran against Overcharged. We talked about this horse on our Tuesday podcast. Yeah. Overcharged is a Louisiana-bred turf sprint demon. I mean, she is absolutely a machine. Yeah. And to get beat in that race again, it's an inflated margin because Overcharged is so good right now down at Fairgrounds in the Mardi Gras. I think Breeze Easy's got a shot to rally in here to get a piece of it under Leparoux. So if you're looking for a price, use the 10 maybe underneath the logical horses in here, the 12 and the 8. That's a look at the Giants Causeway. Let's go to race number 9 on the Saturday card. It's the Jenny Wiley. This is grade 1. Mile and a 16, $600,000 at Keeneland. It's the middle of 3 stakes races on the program. And look, Chad Brown has a bit of dominance in this race. We know that his horses over the years, the Rushes and Falls, the In Italians have had so much success in this race. He's got 4 in here. So do we have to separate between the 4 Chad Browns, or do we look for somebody else in this particular spot, Jeff? Jenny Wiley.
Again, on soft ground, where anything goes here. But
that's Chad right now. Which of the 4 do you like, Chad?
Yeah, but yeah, Chad's going to tell me which of the 4 here. When you look at this race, you have to look. I went to Gina Romantica first because it's hard to get away from 2 for 2. In terms of horse for course, and you really think that because she hasn't been out since November, you wonder, is how cranked up is she? And she looks good in this Easy Breeze. This took place a little bit, almost, well, more than a month ago for sure. But since then, Gina Romantica is a filly that has a history of she's run well fresh. She's also gotten beaten fresh, but the work tab should have her fit enough. And this, again, she's had some good work since then. The thing that I like about her is, again, 2 for 2. She won the grade 1 during the fall, ran down In Italian that day, which was tough to do given the trip that In Italian that she enjoyed that day. And she got a monster number. And I didn't know whether I could believe that number or not, but she was only 7-1 against Master of the Seas in that group in the Breeders' Cup Mile in her next start, and she ran just as good. Now, she had a good trip, but she stayed on really nicely, got beat only a length, had some really top-class males behind her. Now it's a question of whether she returns to that form, which I'm thinking that she will at age 5. She's got a lovely style where she sits second behind the pace, and then she kicks on with it at the end, so pace flow doesn't bother her. She's got a good turn of foot. So if she gets herself in behind horses in a tough spot, she can accelerate. I wouldn't say that she's a single because there's some really, really good, capable mares in this race who can handle off turfs. But if you boil down to 1, Gina Romantica would be my top pick.
I think she's got the best of the Browns in here. I think she's got the best shot of that group. Didia is going to get bet in this particular spot, coming off a win in the Pegasus World Cup Filly Mare Turf. She's more of a top of the ground, over the top kind of filly on the grass, I think. So I think the softer going might work against Didia in here. I could be wrong, but that's the way I'm going to handicap it. The Star Fortress hasn't run back to that big race, the one shot in the Cardinal last year at Churchill. We don't know what to make of her. I thought if you take a lot of the variables out of here, one of the things I really liked was Elusive Princess's form on soft ground. I mean, she's going to be, if anybody likes the soft ground more than others in this particular spot, her form is exceptional in France over the soft going. She only got beat 2.5 lengths over this same turf course by Mauge. We saw her come back from that QE2 and then run a banger in the Breeders' Cup Mile. So I'm giving Elusive Princess a shot in here. Second off the layoff, good form cycle in there. Junior Alvarado had 2 wins on the card Wednesday at Keeneland, so he's got his week off to a good start. Elusive Princess, good post draw in there. Gina Romantica, 3 and 6 the way Jeff and I see the Jenny Wiley Stakes in race number 9. It's a good one. Can't wait to see that one on Saturday. Saturday's other co-feature is for the 3-year-olds trying to make their way potentially into the Triple Crown Series, maybe even the Kentucky Derby if the points work out for them. A couple horses in the Lexington Stakes in this field of 10 have a chance to make the Derby on one of those being Hades, the winner of the Holy Bull Stakes. He's from post 5, 7-2 on the morning line, second choice in there. Hades with the win or second place finish can probably get enough points to bump into the field for the Kentucky Derby. Encino needs a win to make it into the Kentucky Derby on points. Horses like Liberal Arts need a win and maybe a little bit of help, and some horses dropping out of the Derby situation. Those look like the 3 who could make the Kentucky Derby if things break their way. Otherwise, we're looking at potential Preakness horses, and I think all 3 of these horses, Hades, Encino, and also Liberal Arts, are horses of that kind of quality that could run in a Preakness or a Belmont Stakes this year. The Wine Steward is the X factor, Jeff Siegel. He has not run since last fall at Keeneland, but his talent at 2 was there. He's had some setbacks this year for trainer Mike Maker. How do you think he'll come back off his second in the Breeders' Futurity, now coming back into Lexington, about 6-7 months later?
Yeah, I think he's going to be okay. I mean, Mike's got a solid record with comebackers. This is a colt that won his debut, so we know he can run well fresh. I love his buyer pattern. I always point this out. I like to see progressive numbers. This horse went from 63 to 71 to 86 to 92 in the Breeders' Cup Futurity. He was not only advancing, he was leapfrogging. And he had some issues, as you pointed out. But I like the fact that he ran very well in the Breeders' Futurity over this track and distance last year. He's got a nice inside draw. The pace scenario looks fairly comfortable. He's got good tactical speed. He didn't get the greatest of runs. He saved ground, but he didn't get the greatest of runs when Locke beat him, who Locke made this huge run wide, built up some momentum. The Wine Steward rallied, and these 2 were well clear of the rest. I thought that was a really good race. And I think if he's ready, I haven't seen him breathe. I don't have any video, but if he's ready, I think he's just better than these. I really do. And I think he'll show it.
Let's see his race last year in the Breeders' Futurity. It's going to be the Wine Steward coming up a half length short of Locke.
A lane off the rail, now 2 lanes off the rail. Here comes Locked, swinging wide with Northern Flame, a quarter mile to go. The Wine Steward with Locked moving up on the outside, and Northern Flame in between that pair. Top of the short stretch, here is Locked. Locked racing by on the outside for the lead. The Wine Steward is responding to the inside. Generous Tipper goes to third. The Wine Steward responding to the challenge so far. Here's Locked right alongside. Locked, the Wine Steward, it is locked to win the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity for Jose Ortiz. What a weekend for Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners.
And we'll see how the Wine Steward comes back. He's Nick Tamaro's 5-2 morning line favorite. Hades with blinkers on, expected to show some pace in here. Obviously, Liberal Arts will be coming from off the pace for Robbie Medina. He completely melted down. He looked wonderful saddling for the Arkansas Derby. I thought he looked like a powder keg ready to go. He started to melt down in the warm-up a little bit. And then once things went a little bit wrong for him, went haywire on the clubhouse turn of the Arkansas Derby, I think we'll know if Liberal Arts minds his manners and gets around the clubhouse turn fine and onto the backstretch, you'll know whether he's got a shot or not. He's going to tip his hand probably of what kind of game he has. Now, Encino's an X factor coming off the synthetic at Turfway. Of course, he won the Battaglia Memorial when he was able to run down a good horse in Epic Ride. Epic Ride franked that form, coming back and running a really good third last week in the Bluegrass Stakes. So Encino would fit here, Jeff. He's trained by Brad Cox. Cox came here with Tawny Port, who looked almost identical on form and was able to get the win in the Lexington and make it to the Triple Crown Series with Tawny Port. He's compared this horse to Tawny Port, and maybe Encino's got that same kind of profile here. I could see him getting it done in this spot. Absolutely.
In fact, that's one that I fear the most for the Wine Steward, because you've got the X factor of he's by Nyquist out of a mare by Bernardini. He's never won on dirt. He's done all of his work on the all-weather. He may very well be better on dirt. Why wouldn't he be, right? Or at least as good. And he's one of, I like his versatility. He can play close up, but he can come from behind. He had an outside draw last time. I thought he ran really well in the Battaglia. And, he's 5-1. I mean, if I'm playing any kind of rolling exotic ticket, he's on it, because there is a question mark around the Wine Steward, whether he's going to come back as well as he left and whether he's totally cranked up. But this is an important race for Encino, and I think you're going to see him run really well.
I think a couple good options. I mean, if you're playing multi-race wagers, I'm using 4 in there. I'm using the 3 horses that I think can get to the Derby and the Wine Steward, and use those 4 in there. It's a bit of a spread race for me when it comes to a multi-race wager on Saturday. Let's move to Laurel Park, where they've got 4 stakes on Saturday. We'll handicap 2 of those, starting in race number 9. It's the Frank Whiteley $100,000, named for the famed trainer of the Great Ruffians. 7-furlong sprint here. The Frank Whiteley is for older horses, and these horses are they've got some familiarity on the circuit. Some of the top stakes horses around Maryland. We've got Coastal Mission, though, a horse who's coming via New York, but based out of Charlestown, and he's just kind of the king of the West Virginia breds. He's the morning line favorite in this particular spot, Coastal Mission. I was surprised to see that one favored. We'll see how the public ends up betting this race, the Frank Whiteley. How do you see it shaking out, Jeff?
I'm really intrigued by Royal Ship here, because this is the first one-turn race that he has been entered in since he arrived from Brazil, which seems like 100 years ago. I don't know whether
he's 8 now.
Yeah, I don't know whether or not he actually ran, or I imagine he did back in Brazil, but I have no access to any charts. I went to Equibase; they don't supply it, so there's really no way of knowing what Royal Ship did down there when he was younger. The one thing that I also, so I'm intrigued by that. And if you look at who he's run against, I mean, Senior Buscador, Defunded, Gold Phoenix, Flightline, I mean, Country Grammar. I think he's won a Country Grammar like $10 million or something.
Right.
You know, so I mean, those are good horses. And then I look at Coastal Mission, who's a nice horse, love to own him. He's running in West Virginia, you know, so I think there's a discrepancy there between the competition. The other thing is that when Richard Mandela had him, and he did a wonderful job with him, but the only thing I remember about Royal Ship is he used to train the living snot out of this horse. So he put him in, he'd work a mile and an eighth in 50, 151, and 7/8 in 24. And I always felt that, why did he need to be worked that hard? You know what I'm saying? So here you have a new trainer in Graham Motion, and look at his works at Fair Hill. 102, 50, 103, 102, 115. I'm wondering whether the shortening in trip and the easier work pattern might allow Royal Ship, in his first starts in his last July, to come back and show his old class. He's going to get brave against this group, I'm pretty sure. And if he can settle early and kick home, because he does have a good kick, I think he's just going to outclass his field. So at 5-2 in the morning line, I'm going to put my faith in Graham and go with Royal Ship to win the Frank Whiteley.
Again, remember, this is the $10 money back special series of races, all the races that we're handicapping here. So if you take a shot and your horse runs second or third, you get up to $10 back in your account and wagering credits with First Bet and Express Bet. So take a shot in there. I thought Prince of Jericho had a chance, horse for course in here, coming off a win for Brittany Russell. This is a horse who, last year was trying to build up maybe to become a potential Preakness horse. They decided we're going to cut back and shorten the distance after things didn't work out in the Tessio Stakes, and they've been better off for it. Has won a couple stakes races at Laurel, sprinting since then. So I give Prince of Jericho a shot in there. Swift Shore's the other sprinter in the race. Like, when you talk about some of these classy distance horses in here, if the sprinters just kind of outrun them at 7/8 of a mile, then Swift Shore, Prince of Jericho would be horses to consider there in the Frank Whiteley. To the Native Dancer we go. Race number 10 on the card at Laurel on Saturday, 1 mile and an eighth. We're stretching out here. We just saw the horse win the Harrison Johnson Memorial by 4 lengths, named Shaft's Bullet. Shaft's Bullet is back, going to stretch out from 1 turn to 2. We'll see if he can this kind of form that he had last time out.
Go 1/2 mile and 47, 4/5 of a second. They race to the top of the stretch for the long run in. More than 1/4 of a mile to go to the second wire finish. And Shaft's Bullet takes the lead from Nimitz class. Double Crown's backed off. It's Sizzling Time till the center of the track. Tries to rally, but time is running out. 3/16 of a mile left to go. Shaft's Bullet in front by 3. As Sizzling Time is giving all and chasing hard from second with a furlong left to run. Shaft's Bullet by 3.5, almost 4 from its Sizzling Time. Second, a 16th left to go. Shaft's Bullet coming home in the Harrison E. Johnson Memorial Stakes. Shaft's Bullet, the Laurel 11, Shaft's Bullet over its Sizzling Time.
Laurel Lovin' indeed, 5 wins and 9 starts over the track there. And not too bad for a $16,000 son of mine. Shaft Jeff's made almost $250,000.
Yeah, and he's only run 9 times with 5 wins, all 5 at Laurel. I thought it was that last race that we just saw. I know it was just a 4-runner field, but that maybe was his best race. Now, that was a 1-turn mile, but he's won 2 turning, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. And while he's not that quick, where's the speed here? I mean, maybe the outside horse will go.
There's not much, no.
I think Shaft's Bullet's going to draft in and get a good stalking position here. That last race, we just showed the stretch drive in that race, but he really had a really easy trip up until that time, which I think was good because I don't think that was a real hard taxing race for him. It may have looked like it in the final furlong when he was, given the whip and asked to quicken, but up until then, he was just kind of galloping along and just enjoying himself. And I like the spacing in between races. Obviously runs for this rider, and I think Shaft's Bullet in his present form can beat Magic Michael, who has beaten him in the past a couple of times. But I think now that those roles will be reversed. I like Shaft's Bullet here to win the Native Dancer.
Yeah, the only speed in the race ain't the beer cold on the outside. It'll take him wire to wire. He tried to do that a 1 1/8 over the Maryland Million Classic, led most of the way, nailed it in the end. He's one of my favorite horse names, though, because if you're an old-time Baltimore Orioles fan and Baltimore Colts, Chuck Thompson, the voice in Baltimore for all those years, after a Colts or Orioles victory, he'd sign off by saying, "Ain't the beer cold." So Dave Rodman has fun with that call when Ain't the Beer Cold runs a big one. So we'll see how far he can take him in the Native Dancer. Let's go now to Oaklawn Park for Saturday's stakes double there. We've got top sprinters in the Count Fleet, and we've got the Distaff division represented in the Apple Blossom. The Count Fleet sprint, race number 8 on the card, going 6 furlongs, and it's a bit of a welcome back party. Skelly, obviously an Oaklawn legend of sorts, winning 6 of 8 races here, comes back for the first time since running a big one in Saudi Arabia, coming up just short in the Riyadh Dirt Sprint.
Making a little bit of ground now, staying to the inside, moving to about 5th or 6th. Bold Journey and Kayadori with a lot to do. Jasper Crone is the first one to commit. Skelly tries to cover the move, just lugging to the left. Then behind these rebellious stage, looking for those coming from the back. Bold Journey's making ground. Remake is now asked for the effort to try and pick up the leader, and that leader is now Skelly, who's gone to the front. Skelly from Jasper Crone. Remake continues to close off strongly. Out in front, it's Skelly. Remake down the outside. Once again, Japan after the USA. And once again, it will go to Japan. Remake, third last year, turns away Skelly. Bold Journey ran on late.
Skelly returns for the Count Fleet, a race he won last year. Jeff, it was part of a 7-race win streak. He was 6-1 in the Count Fleet. Everybody knows Skelly. Now you're not getting 6-1.
No, but I also think even money on the morning line might not offer a lot of value either, because you've got the X factor here of having shipped halfway around the world.
Right.
Having a very hard lay your body down type of effort over a deep track that might have gotten to him in the last 50 yards or so. But it's hard to ignore 6 out of 8 lifetime at Oaklawn. And I think Skelly has been back now for a good part of time, and with the ability to fire fresh. I'm just going to have to hope that Asmussen has got him ready. And the one you might say, well, why would he run him? He's a gelding. If he wasn't ready, couldn't he wait? Yes, but it's also tempting to squeeze in a race like this for $500,000 over a track that we know he loves. So whether or not it's a good gamble or not, I don't know. But I do know that it's hard to pick against him. Let's put it that way. Even though I have a very good piece of my heart with Tejano Twist. Well, I mean, he's in there with Skelly. These are tough, durable, professional geldings that always can be counted on for top effort. So either one, but I'll go with Skelly.
This is the division I love. I love the older sprinters like this at any track, the Chosen Vron on the West Coast.
Sure.
These kind of horses I just love, because you look at the Oaklawn Stakes schedule this season. It started out with these sprinters in the Ring the Bell Stakes. Tejano Twist won that one in December. The King Cotton in February went to Skelly before he went on the road. Then they ran the Whitmore Stakes in March. That went to Jackson Traveler. Now all 3 of them are against each other in kind of the decider, the 4th sprint stakes of the meet of significance at Oaklawn. And all all three of the race winners are back. So really a fun race number 8 at Oaklawn on Saturday. I can't argue taking Skelly in this spot. I did mention in a blog that I wrote for the money back special that Teano Twist might be the bet in this race because he's always running top 3 and he always finishes. So like a safety net, like Skelly was probably going to win the race, but if he doesn't run well, it's because of that trip, and maybe he doesn't, the trip to Saudi Arabia and back. But with Teano Twist, he just fires every time. He's almost guaranteed to run in the top 3. And if he happens to get the win, you'll get the win money in this spot. If he doesn't, you'll get your money back up to $10 in the promotion. So from a promo play, Teano Twist, but from a who's the best in this race and who's most likely to win, I agree with Jeff totally that it would be Skelly. Let's go to the Apple Blossom Stakes feature race on Saturday at Oaklawn. And also our express bet race of the week. About $1.25 million for the purse in the Apple Blossom. $1 million just wasn't enough. They added another quarter to it. Mile to 16th, and that's one of the things I like about the Apple Blossom actually historically is most of the time you get up to these big grade 1s and they're all 1 1/8 or farther around the country. This is a race where a middle distance horse can achieve at 1 1/16. So you typically over the years, you get a good mix of horses that have some speed, class, and a great mixture. This is no exception. We got horses from Florida. We got horses from California. We've got the stars of the Midwest in here. This is a good group for the Apple Blossom, representative of a grade 1. A grade 1 when you have horses like Wet Paint, Adair Manor, Taxed in here, Honored a Lady, Bellamore. Good-looking bunch top to bottom in the Apple Blossom, Jeff.
It is, and we've got Adair Manor for Bob Baffert shipping in, and we know how well Bob does with his Santa Anita shippers to Oaklawn. Mm-hmm. And this is a mare that I've never really been able to get in tune with, although I got in tune with her last time when she finished second because I love the winner, Sweet Ass Tech. But right. Adair Manor ran better. In fact, that was the highest rated race of her life, triple-digit buyer number, and I thought maybe that would knock her out. But this Breeze, 1 minute and 2/5 just the other day before shipping, I mean, she looks terrific. Just galloping along. She's going in 1 minute and 2. Looks like
it's like an open gallop, and it's a minute and 2.
I mean, if I told you this was a 103 and 1, you'd probably buy it, right? Mm-hmm. 1 minute and 2/5. So she's maintaining her edge. If she were to run back to the Beholder Mile race, she finished second to Sweet Azteca, who's a fantastic race mare. While more than 5 lengths clear of everybody else, that is a winning race. Again, I mentioned it's the fastest figure that she's ever earned, and that's before that Breeze. So I think she's going to come back and repeat her last race. She's been first or second 12 out of 15 times. It's not like she's inconsistent, and the pace scenario looks pretty easy for her. I mean, Flying Connection will probably try to go, but she's not going to burn up Adair Manor in any way, shape, or form. And Adair Manor doesn't need to lead the win. I mean, if you give it to her, she'll take it, but she doesn't need it. 9-5, Juan Hernandez, fantastic rider, flying down there to ride her, which you'd expect she would do for a race worth more than $1 million. Again, I've zigged when she zagged, so I'm a little bit afraid of that, but if she shows up with her A game, Adair Manor is going to beat this field, I think.
Yeah, with Santa Anita off this week, what a weekend to go for a road trip for Juan Hernandez, right? It just works out perfectly on the schedule for him. I thought the 2 Tax has a major chance in this race. She won the Black-Eyed Susan last year. She's run really well over this track at Oaklawn, and Randy Morse trained her like it's like 1995. I just love this pattern. They gave her a sprint allowance race off the layoff to tune up for this. She shouldn't win. She rallies from 10 back, runs 110, and draws off and wins by 3 just on her class. It just shows to me how sharp she might be, and she's worked well since. I think Tax is sitting on a big race. Christian Torres, top rider at the meet. She gets in light at 118, gets 5 pounds from Adair Manor. I'm looking for Tax to maybe spring an upset in here. Ton of respect for Adair Manor. She's going to run her race, but I give Tax the big chance in here in the Apple Blossom Stakes. I'm excited to see this one. This is a really good race. I mean, you talk about the great races in the division. We'll see some in Southern California throughout the course of the year, some at Saratoga and in New York, Belle Dame, those kind of races. But the Apple Blossom for the first half of the year, this is the Breeders' Cup in the first half of the year when you talk about the distaff division. And then, they'll go a little bit shorter at Churchill Downs and get a chance to shorten up there in the Churchill Downs, in the distaff sprint, the Derby City Sprint, I think they're calling it these days. Used to be the Churchill Downs Oh, they changed the names, the sponsors
Yeah,
so
well,
many times.
you know
There's a
what
great 7/8 mile early in the year at Churchill on
Right.
Derby weekend. I can't remember what
Yeah.
they call it anymore, but going long here at a mile on the 16th, this one's going to be a really good one.
It is, and sometimes this happens here at Santa Anita or even New York, where you get these major races and there's like 5 horses in it, and you got a 1 to 5 shot you got to deal with. But in Oaklawn, there always seems to be depth. You know what I'm saying? You've got a melting pot of horses coming from different venues, and it's good to see it. And Keeneland, of course, does that as well. So we enjoy these spring races at these boutique meets because they usually have great races and competitive fields. So it's, as gamblers, that's what we're looking for.
Well, now you have our thoughts on these 11 stakes races, 8 of them that we handicapped here, 11 that are part of the money back special coming up this weekend on Friday and Saturday from First and Express Bet. So be sure to play those. Again, $10 money back special on win bets that finish second or third. For more content, be sure to check out our websites, news.first.com and expressbet.com in the blog section, where Eddie Olczyk is going to check in later today with his hat trick, 3 best bets for the Keeneland card on Saturday. John White's got his blog up already with picks for the Lexington Stakes on Saturday. John also gives you his look at early prediction of Kentucky Derby odds. I think that's interesting in his blog, how he thinks the public will be betting the Kentucky Derby in a few weeks based on the probable field as we know it now. And also Frank Carulli's got a blog up there with handicapping selections for today's late pick 4 that includes 2 of those stakes races that we talked about, the Limehouse and the Maker's Mark Mile. So you can get Frank's thoughts on today's card as well. If you want to get my picks for Keeneland each and every day of the meet, you can check those out, Keeneland.com, or sign up for my Substack. Go to Substack. It's jeremy.plonk at Substack, and you can sign up, and I'll send those to your email inbox each and every day and update them in the morning after scratches. So we are set to go for a big day of racing. We're going to stream the podcast out now. Enjoy some Grade 1 stakes action today for Friday and a great weekend as well. Jeff, have a great weekend. You and I will get back together on Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll check back with what happened. Look ahead as usual on Tuesday on our It's Official show. And in the meantime, everybody have good racing luck this weekend. Lots of outstanding action, good gambling as well. So let's make some money.
All right. Take care, everybody.